So we're going to switch our agenda order a little bit and start today with LuAnn Heinen, who's really been at the forefront as employers have moved from traditional workplace wellness programs to investing in well-being with the goal of improving happiness, health, and productivity. LuAnn is Vice President of Wellbeing and Workforce Strategy at the National Business Group on Health. She leads their initiatives on employee, family, and community well-being and workforce effectiveness. LuAnn?
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you so much to NIHCM and my fellow panelists and the audience today for this opportunity to speak about well-being from the large employer perspective. I'm delighted to be here. I know that, the main event is the science of happiness, and we hope that our researcher will be on next, but we're going to forge ahead and talk about employer practices. So NBGH, or the Business Group, as we call ourselves, is a nonprofit membership organization. We're located in Washington, D.C., and these are some of our 440 or so current members. And on the left are aspirational goals as an organization. My work especially supports the second and the third of these, why well-being is a good workforce strategy and how it supports health and productivity and performance. So our members, as you can see, are mostly private employers, but we do have in our membership the largest employer of all, the Office of Personnel Management of the federal government. We have the state of Tennessee, and even a county or two. Hennepin County in Minneapolis is a member. So that's the perspective that we represent. However, it's really important that while we keep the large self-insured employer perspective top of mind in all that we do at the Business Group, we very much need and welcome other stakeholders, especially health plans, health systems, and all the other partners to the employer community, and these are our members as well. Now, if this headline were true, we could declare victory and go home. We know it's probably not true, especially if you were to ask employees. I left it on here because it's just a lesson as we prepare our survey reports, and this is from a survey that we've done of large employers in partnership with Fidelity. And this is the heading, well-being nearly universal, which it struck me as funny. I thought, you know what? I put it in quotes, and we'll remember to do a better job next time we write the report. It's due for an update, because what we do know and what this means to say is that when you survey the heads of benefits, the heads of total rewards, people who are leading wellness or well-being at these large companies, a very large majority of them say well-being is part of their company's overall business strategy. It's integral to their strategy at 92%, and that's gone up year over year. Now, a quarter of them also say that they tie well-being to at least one key business metric in their organization. And it's not in this set of survey data, but we know from other work that those metrics, those business performance metrics, are things like talent attraction, improved customer satisfaction, better employee engagement scores, less shrinkage, that's retail speak for employee theft, fewer incidental or unplanned absences, and any number of other industry-specific metrics. So we're going to be trying to make the case today that well-being is part of workforce strategy, is and should be. Just a little bit about semantics. We have undergone, over the last 5 years, a shift to this broader view of well-being. We at the Business Group use the term well-being to describe this multidimensional approach encompassing the kinds of these sort of pillars of well-being that you see here. Some people still use the term wellness, and they mean exactly the same thing. So you need to be clear. Well-being sometimes looks more like a traditional wellness program. Wellness could be addressing all these dimensions of well-being. So you need to dig a little deeper and understand what the terminology is that's being used. So this has been a big push the last several years. Now I want to just show you a little bit about common elements of physical health programming at the workplace. So, and what's in boxes is, these are things that seem to be trending and things we want to watch going forward. This is mostly not that new or novel. These are the kinds of physical health supports that large employers and all employers have been providing to some degree for a long time. It's not all inclusive. Remember, this is survey data, so it captures the responses to what was asked. So notably missing, because we didn't ask about it, would be things like environmental interventions and nudges, walking clubs, open stairwells, lots of other things that many employers do. Moving to emotional health, this is an area of great focus. Depression, anxiety, opioids, lots of reasons why there's an important focus on emotional and mental health and well-being. Happiness initiatives do exist. They're getting some traction. This survey shows 29% of large employers surveyed said they had happiness initiatives in place in 2018, and another 25% are considering for 2019. Now, the kinds of programs, there's a lot of variability included, behind these data. So I'll just give you one example of something that I happened to visit not too long ago. So at General Mills headquarters, they have something called a Zenergy room, for example, and it's located in the on-site clinic. So you make an appointment, you book the room, and you can go in, and it's a guided sort of relaxation opportunity in a quiet room. So you've got like an iPad that you can look at and see it's a progressive relaxation exercise, and if you make it all the way to the end, there's little beautiful birds that are twittering, and you hear the music and you see the birds, and employees have really resonated to that. So it can be just a quiet space like that, or there are simple dial-in, dial M for Om or other kinds of guided meditations people can do from their desk. So at the business group, we have brought forth resources to the membership on happiness over the last few years, and this is just an example. It's a piece of an infographic to try to explain, educate, make aware why positive emotions are good for employees and the bottom line. And the next part of that infographic, can't fit it all on a slide, is here. And basically it's what are strategies for cultivating positive emotions. I will say, if any of you on the line have audiences and you're interested in happiness, one of the most successful webinars we ever had, and the business group doesn't draw quite the audience that NIHCM does, but it still, I think, holds the record for most people dialed in for it. It was a Danish happiness expert, an unpronounceable last name, Alexander Krolf, I think it is. His company is Woohoo Inc. He's written books on happiness, and we had him speak, I think 2015, which is the year that Denmark was at the top of the charts in the World Happiness Index. And I can tell you this is something that resonates with people personally as well as professionally. So back to our dimensions of holistic well-being, community involvement is something that's important to all employees. It's often stated, millennials are interested in volunteering, but we find that it's meaningful to all generations in the workplace. Employees want to be connected to their community and to do good, and they value their employer's community involvement as well. So team-building volunteer programs are really popular. There are more organizations even giving time off to volunteer. So financial security is a key dimension of well-being. Some folks call it financial wellness or financial well-being, but it's really about security. It's knowing that you have the resources to pay your bills, you have the money to do what you want, and not worry. Companies have recognized in our membership, this is the private sector, and I think this one really hits home with them because on recognizing that there's a hierarchy of needs. Financial stress is bad for health, bad for work engagement, and for most people, financial security is a higher priority, or financial worries are what they care about more than signing up for a weight loss program or a wellness challenge at work. And also, I think that if you're looking at the kinds of companies we have in our membership, I think that it hits them hard because this is something that we should help with. This is closer to our business and closer to our skill set than, let's say, managing healthcare even. This is something that I think companies are really moved ahead on, recognizing the problems that we have in this country with people, even employed people, not being able to pay bills, not having cash reserves. So it's something they're going after in a big way. Student loan counseling and repayment assistance is on the rise, but there are many other programs that are addressing all different types of employees at different income levels. So paid leave, there's been something of an arms race again in many companies for, somebody comes out with 16 weeks of parental leave, someone comes out with, 24 weeks of parental leave. It's been a little bit of, like I say, something of an arms race, and it's discussed everywhere. It's important. It's very much related to well-being and financial security. And it's also part of the employment value proposition today. So leave and flexibilities at work are factors in the competition to attract and retain talent generally, and again, certainly in a competitive labor market as we have now. We're also hearing more about caregiving. It's related to leave. Our employer members over the last couple of years have been more and more concerned about the impact of caregiving, and of course their employees, many of them are in the sandwich generation, and more companies are now beginning to address this issue. Rosalind Carter's quote, my slide's very small, but perhaps you can see her quote here. There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, who currently are caregivers, who will be, and who will need caregivers. And that resonates now more than ever. And while paid leave is a growing priority, and it certainly helps in caregiving, it's important to note that leave alone won't solve for this challenge. The course of chronic illness and aging is, something that most employers, can't give enough leave to address the problem. So in addition to working with existing community-based organizations, there are startups and other organizations who are offering extremely useful services that employers can offer free to their employees or at a subsidized rate or even just as a referral. And these are services that hire aides, perhaps, can identify assisted living, provide navigator and concierge services for families with chronically ill parents, grandparents, and children. And it's a trend, another trend we're seeing. And coming full circle, why is it that well-being matters for employers and employees and makes sense as a workforce strategy? Well, there is research to support all of the statements on this slide, and much of this research, virtually all of it, comes from Gallup. It's done on their well-being index, and it was originally the Gallup Healthways shared research agenda. It's now Gallup ShareCare that's produced a lot of this data. We know that well-being, holistically defined, is a much better predictor of work performance than physical health. So those who are thriving physically but not thriving in all domains of well-being are more likely to miss work, file a workers' comp claim, look for a new job or change employers, and they're less resilient and less equipped to deal with setbacks. So higher well-being impacts business in terms of lowered healthcare costs, more appropriate use of the ER, fewer hospital admissions, lower rates of absence and disability, reduced presenteeism, which is when you're on the job but not really all there because you're thinking about your health problem or loved ones. Increased retention, better job performance, and there's data from performance reviews that supports this. And then the other kicker, sort of the amplifier, is that higher overall well-being augments the benefits of engagement. So there's data that shows work units do better with high employee engagement levels, and they do even better when there are high well-being scores as well. So thank you so much for your attention, and I look forward to having a dialogue at the end of the call.